Yeah, Kingsley, you mentioned the family. Lashana, you met Rita, didn't you? How encouraging was she? Oh, to even meet her was
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to get started. We've only got 3 minutes to go, but I'm going to get started. So just do an introduction. Um, people can, my name's Lottie, and I do a free live once a month to just bring information about couple work and individual work, and for people to get together, have a discussion if they want to, stay anonymous if they want to, come on and ask questions. So it's something I enjoy doing. Each time we've done it, we've got really good feedback about it, and lots of questions, which has been really great. So tonight is a relationship, MOT, and it gives the opportunity to hear some of the things that I already work with, and how I work. I've been in private practice for about 23 years now, and working for couples about 18 years. And it gives an opportunity to hear how I work and give therapists an opportunity to hear that. But also, this is a platform for couples to be invited to hear about sort of individual process and how they are working on their I, and choosing to be together as a we. So the first thing we would do is a little bit of housekeeping. Usually I have Fee here and who does all that. So I'm just going to do a very quick housekeeping. So we usually keep everybody on mute, but if you want to say anything, by all means, put your hand up or come back on screen to say something. It's absolutely fine. As you know or don't know, we actually put this on the Facebook page. So I always get everybody to keep themselves safe, and not sort of divulge anything that they feel that would be too personal to them. But by all means, go onto my website, find out my details, and contact me if you've got any questions that come up from this evening. So we've got quite a few people on the Facebook page now. This is recorded. And then it gives the opportunity for people to watch it at their leisure. And I hope, and I have found that people are getting quite a lot from this. So I hope to continue this for free, and give the opportunity for people to hear what I've got to say. And I love the interaction that I'm getting off of camera as well, the questions that are coming, the people that are networking with me. So it is all worthwhile. And obviously, clients coming to see me because I've said something that either they think that's us, or they're thinking, I need to know more about that. So let's get started. I'm going to go through the relationship creed tonight, which I think is paramount to when we're talking about relationships. The relationship creed is from Tony Robbins, and I'm just going to read out first of all what he says about it because I think it's really poignant. Then we're going to go through them and think about whether it's something you might want to work with, or as a couple think about the deficit that you might be feeling within the relationship, and you might find as I read through them you can really understand which ones are missing. So normally there's 6 altogether, and we have 2 that seem more primary than the others. So if that's true, we can sort of enhance the ones we're really good at, but then we really need to find the deficit of where the other ones need to be worked on more. And that's what we would do in therapy. So let me just read this out to you. It's not very long. So Tony Robbins gives us the relationship creed. He calls it the relationship values. So we can truly see if we are authentically giving to ourselves and our partner. Love is an action and the ability to know what is needed for yourself, and then fulfilling your partner's relationship needs by communicating and negotiating. So most of the people I see as individuals and couples have issues about communicating, being able to say their authentic voice within a relationship. The only way a relationship will last is if we see your relationship as a place where you go to give, not a place where you go to get. Love is not a trade-off. Your love template from your family of origin might have been a condition for love. To get love as a child, you would fulfill that void. But your partner's first by fulfilling these 6 basic needs in a relationship, which are the 6 human needs. The 4 are part of the survival process that actually human beings need. And the second part of them is the spirit, the freedom and the exploration of you as an individual and as you as a couple. And that will become obvious as we read through them. So when we think about that, the actual exploration of the freedom part of it is that's the part where the romantic partnership can really reciprocate from each other. So the contribution above yourself, the growth and connection that you can have. Okay. And when you're able to align yourself with the relationship creed of seeing what's there and what's missing, actually, it's really magical. You can actually see from a different perspective how you can actually enhance that side of you which is missing. So that might be, and I'll go through it, but there might be something missing that you feel like, I don't know what it is, but this might give you a flavor of actually what it might be. So we're looking at the 4 primal needs, which we need as human beings, and the spiritual needs. So all human beings are constantly seeking to meet the 6 needs, and we are all in a place we tend to value 2 more than the rest. So when we look at that, we think about the relationship, the needs, it's really a good idea to actually see what we've already got and what we need. So let's start with number 1, first of all. Okay, so you might want to write this down. I can send this to the Facebook page if it's asked for. So certainty equals safety. Okay, every week in my private practice, I see clients that come into me and they say, I don't feel safe enough. And the safety aspect is so, so important for a relationship, from financial right the way through to emotional to sexual. So we need to really think about how we are coming across to our partner, whether that's communication, whether that's action, whether that's dismissing, whether there's some sort of abandonment. So how safe do you feel in this relationship? Okay. So one of the things we feel as human beings is we want to be safe so that we can avoid pain, and that is impossible. The whole point of actually having a safety net with the person that you're choosing to be in is that you can talk about that when it arises. So the safety aspect for me is about being able to go, I'm not 100% safe in this relationship, which sounds, I know, a bit crazy, because I'm autonomous. I can look after myself. But you need a partner that you have John Gottman talks about the relationship house, commitment and trust. I'm not going to go through that tonight. We've done that once on the other ones, but the safety aspect of this is just so important for people to feel that they can be vulnerable within a relationship. The more vulnerable you are within a relationship, the more you'll want to share, but you've got to feel safe enough to be able to do that. And the resentments that build up within a relationship is really key, because we could have something that's really important to us, but our partner, it's not that important to them. So when we have that conversation going, I feel really scared because we feel like there's not enough money coming in, or I feel like when we're attracted to each other, you don't listen to me about the things that I want to do or the things I don't want you to do to me. So the safety aspect covers right across, whether it's financial, emotional, physically. It is such a strong one. And that's why Tony Robbins has put that one as the top, because the safer you feel within the relationship, the more you'll be able to communicate. The other one is uncertainty equals spontaneity. So going through this with my clients is really important, because if you don't feel very safe, and then you've got a partner that's joking all the time, it feels even more unsafe that you're not being listened to. And the joking might be a defense mechanism. I don't know how to handle this, so I'll just make the jokes that I've always joked about. So we need to think about how we can have fun, excitement, adventure, difference within the relationship. But if you take the top tier of safety, we really don't have much fun when we're not feeling that safe. And one of the primary things about a relationship is we need to have the opportunity for fun and novelty, exploration, because that's the part of us that really integrates ourselves with each other. The other one, which I feel is as important, is number 3, significance. Sharing your most vulnerable information, whatever that might be, whether it's a new relationship, and we do share quite a lot in a new relationship, or a longevity relationship, we want to be able to say to the person, you are the person I want to share it with. So there's a vulnerability to that. So throughout a relationship, there'd be lots of things that, you know, curveballs, you know, illness, children, operations, menopause, andropause, whatever it might be in the relationship, we then have moments of feeling insignificant. Now, some of that might be coming from yourself. Okay. There might be a part of you that goes, I'm not good enough, or in my family of origin, I felt like I'm not worthy of love. There might be something that's happening to you as an individual. But actually, if we're talking about a relationship, if we don't feel significant enough, okay. So my usual things are, you know, football. Football's great. I love football. But if we've got somebody that's actually investing in that, or investing in friendships, or even investing in alcohol, we will feel, the other person will feel that actually they aren't as primary as they'd like to be within the relationship. And we do need things that we do outside of each other, but we've got to make sure that actually the relationship is solid enough for each other to go off and do other things, because that's where the magic is, that you come back and you share that. Otherwise, there's not much conversation about, apart from perfunctory things, practical things that we're doing all the time. And like I always say, there'll always be laundry and there'll always be washing up. So the most important things is the connection between both of you. And the significant part is the crucial relationship feeling of feeling significant. Okay. And the process works both ways. And the interesting thing about that for me is usually when somebody feels that, they don't share it. I was feeling left out. I felt like you didn't consider me. I felt invisible. Okay, so that won't be shared, that will be stored. The next one is number 4 is connection and love. Okay, so we are trying to see out of the 6 which is already established. Okay, and if you feel in the eyes of your partner that you are significant within that relationship, the connection and love can grow. But if there's safety aspects and there's not much fun and you feel like you're not significant, the rupture, and that's why therapy comes into its own, to repair the rupture, will continue without help, because the connection and love is something that we need, and it disappears. So through all the things that we delve into, you know, marriage, having a family, what we do is this. Okay, and what we've got to do through all the things that actually are in our way or blocking us, or things we choose to do, we've got to keep that connection all the way through. So most of the clients that I see, they've lost a connection. So communication goes, and then intimacy goes. When intimacy goes, sex goes. So it feels like there's a sort of a rounded process going on. And that connection and that love is really important to re-establish that as quickly as possible. So when I'm working with clients, I not only have this side where I'm doing the perfunctory things, practical things, parenting things, but this side we're also doing the intimacy things. So getting you to do tasks so that you're doing them together, finding something that you can, newness we're looking for, not the stuff that you've already done before, or somebody's more expert than you in that. So you're starting from the beginning. So love and connection is really, really important. And it's important to say, how am I connected to you? Okay. Or how do I show my love to you? So Esther Perel says that love is a verb, which it is. So it's an action. Saying I love you, I love you, I love you is lovely to hear, but it's got to be sparing and authentic and true. But from that, we need to then show some action. How is it that you want me to show you love? What would that look like for you? Because we've all got separate templates for it all. Okay, so we need to say, how would you like me to love you? What would that look like? What do you need from me? Okay, so the next one is growth. So I look at that as an individual process, first of all. So how do we want to continue to grow? And the way I look at it, we need to continue to grow in every aspect of our life as an I. Okay, our aspirations, our dreams, our goals, they were already there before you met this person that you chose to spend some time with or your life with. So we need to think about how that's working out. Who have you become while you're in that relationship? How can you grow? Is there any power dynamic that's not working? Is there anything that's actually, I want to progress further, or I've got some ideas, but they're not being listened to? So the growth part of us is very, very important. So when I'm working with clients, I talk about the I. Okay, you're an I first. What were your dreams and aspirations? I get people to do homework on this. What would you be doing now if you could? Because you can do some of it. It's not completely gone. Or the aspiration and the dream can actually be flexible and change and include your partner. But what are the things, first of all, that you want to do for yourself? And I get both partners to do that. And then you think about, right, okay, can we collaborate that as a couple? Or is those two adventures something that needs to be facilitated? Yeah, so I talk to clients about sabbaticals or a break, not a separation or a divorce, but talking about a break. How could we facilitate these things that you've always wanted to do, but you've got into this relationship and it almost like it's sort of been put in the cupboard and that won't be available to you anymore. And there's a resentment that builds up. We need to continually grow because it feels like we're dying if we're not. And we need to continually feel like, what do I need for myself and what do I need for this relationship? So I don't like the word compromise. It always feels like we're giving something up. So I talk about negotiation, but it does feel when we aren't able to fulfill our own dreams that we are compromising ourselves. Something else always comes first. And that might be something that's quite usual for you. You put other people first, or people pleaser, or your template for love was actually, this is what you're supposed to do or have to do. I like to negotiate things so that actually we sit in a place of everybody's going, I agree with that, or that suits us both. Or we don't agree with that. So we need to do some more dialogue on it. And that's where the communication comes in. So Tony Robbins talks about when something good happens to us, we want to go home. And usually the first person we want to talk to is our partner. We want to give them the good news. We want to share our celebrations, our successes with them. And I feel like the contribution that we give to the relationship in sharing that, in bonding that, in connecting each other with it is part of that dialogue that we can have that brings us closer together. But I also see the combination of sharing that with your partner in a way of like involving them. So being interested, being curious about what they're doing and vice versa. But the contribution, I believe, should be beyond yourself. So thinking about volunteering, giving above yourself. There's something great about being able to give something else. Okay, giving something that is giving time up, doing something together. You know, some of my couples go volunteering together. And that's great because they've been set a task and they have to talk about it. How are we going to do it? You know, you might have an engineering mind and you might have somebody who's a interior designer. They've got two different aspects of how this volunteering work or this building of something would go. So that means they'd have to communicate with each other. So it's a lovely way of actually getting couples to talk. But the contribution, I believe, as human beings has to be beyond ourselves. And I'm always thinking of something that I can do that actually is a bit, you know, sometimes out of my comfort zone. You know, I'm going on a 10K run for a charity, so never done that before. I don't even think I can run, but I want to do something that actually says I'm going to give whatever I get for the charity. So yeah, the contribution for other things, I think for me is quite important. So I don't know what you think of that, but I feel that when couples come to see me, I want them to really think about what they've already got. What's the safety aspect? Actually make a list of, you know, physically, mentally, spiritually, sexually, or make a list of actually how safe do you feel in those categories and share it with each other. Because the vulnerability is the bit where you get close. And talking about the uncertainty is a good thing. Being spontaneous. A lot of people don't like surprises, to be honest. And I think the percentage of people not wanting surprises is quite large. But what we want to do sometimes as partners is give a treat, give something different. But if we haven't got the safety aspect, that won't land as well. But think about, have you ever asked your partner, even though it's a surprise, what are the things that they like to do? So you can get an idea. And the reason why I say that is because you're actively listening. Your partner is always saying, well, I like that dress, or I love, canoeing, or there's always little clues about what you could do that would be a really nice surprise for them. Going back to significant, how important do I feel? If we don't feel important, we're looking at rejection, we're looking at abandonment, we're looking at being dismissed, which is a really internal somatic feeling. Then we got connection and love, which I've explained that we do need that as human beings, that human connection with each other. And I always say to my clients, they say, I want to be loved. And then my first question is, how loving are you? You can only be loved if you allow it to come towards you. So if there's any blocks or resentments or hostility, it won't come towards you. So we've got to be loving to be loved. And then we've got the growth, which I explained, and then the contribution above ourselves. So I really like that. It really works well with the clients I see, and they go away and they really work out which are the two primary and which are the ones that are lacking slightly that they've got to work on. Okay, any questions? If there's no questions, that's absolutely fine. We will move on. But by all means, if there is anything you want to say, please do. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Yeah, I want to sort of think about a relationship MOT, which is what this is called. And looking about what questions could we ask. So when you think of how would I start an MOT with my partner, how would I talk to them? And what it comes down to is we need some questions. We need to start off this sort of like process. I always say, I'm cup of tea mad. Okay. So I say to them, find a really nice space, make a cup of tea, give each other a hug, and then sit down and start doing the questions. So the reciprocity is you ask the questions to each of you. Okay, so that there's a fair equal amount of conversation coming back. So I want to put down here, so we're looking for better communication when we're talking about a relationship MOT, better understanding of what's being said. So the message that comes towards your partner is your responsibility. When you get the wrong answer back from your partner, you know that the message you've sent didn't make sense or they didn't hear it that well. So always remember, we usually say things like, you don't get it, you haven't heard me, or you don't understand me, or you don't know me anymore. What we're doing is actually, can you say it again? But say it in a clearer way so your partner can understand what's being said. Better connection, we're always looking for that. What resentments are you holding, even though you say, that's okay, I don't mind? Okay, so I've had clients this week coming in from work saying that they're doing all of the chores when they come in, and they go, it's fine, I don't mind, it's fine. The longer we talked about it, there was a resentment that was being brought up in it. So we must stop saying it's okay, it's fine, I don't mind. That's the authentic you getting lost within the relationship that you're in. Then we need to look at so we're striving for meaning in our relationship. Okay, so that's where the sort of the creed comes in, really. What is it that we need for this relationship to strive? And who am I, and who am I becoming within this relationship? So I'm going to read some things out that might give an opportunity to invoke these conversations. So what do you feel towards each other? So I'd like the couple to sit opposite each other, get comfortable, and start saying, what do you feel towards me? So that can be physically, mentally, spiritually, however that might be for you. So you need to. I'm not putting the questions out as clear as that, but I want the couples to actually do some homework and go, what would that mean for us? What do I mean by feel towards you? Okay, so write down what you actually want to know, and it might be, what do I feel towards you? Actually, attractive, desire, arousal, conversation. There's something about being able to add to these questions. What do you do together? So a lot of couples are doing activities outside each other, which is great. A lot of couples are doing exits. They're doing more than they need to, more time at the gym than they need to, more time out with their friends. If you're going to stay with this person, you've got to prioritize that relationship. I talk about top of the tree. Everyone should be at the top of their own tree. So they look down like a helicopter and see what's going on, especially when there's children involved in a relationship, actually not being squashed by the children or squished by the in-laws or parents. Be at the top of the tree so you can navigate what's going on a little bit more. How do you relate to each other? So perfunctory, practical. Are the chores going well? Have you shared them? How do you go to bed at the same time at night? Okay, how are you relating to each other? Does it feel like you're miles away, but you're living in the same house? Or does it feel like there are elements that you can actually attach to that make the relationship stronger? What is your sex life like? So I'm always talking to therapists who work with couples, and they must have this on their assessment form. What is it that you're achieving within your intimate relationship? So I truly believe that we are a friendship, intimate, and sex. Okay, that's the contract in my head. Okay, so as a friendship, you've got each other's back, you have that loyalty to each other. You're there to be able to speak to each other if there's a problem, so there's a friendship there. Then the intimacy and the sex makes you more than that. So you've got enough friends, I don't know, but you want more than that within a relationship. Now the agape part of it is when we go that way. Agape is a friendship. It's a process where we go, I'm not feeling that desire for you. I'm coming away from it. I'm probably going a little bit off tack here, really, with saying so much on each question, but I can send them out to everybody or put them on the Facebook page. But actually having a physical relationship with somebody that you're choosing to be a partnership in is really, really important. And my work, it has shown that there are lots of relationships that are dismissing this part of their partnership, and it won't work. So when we talk about the relationship needs and the way we want to be within a partnership, that doesn't work. How do you relate around work situations? So coming home, talking about work, how do you relate around money? So usually that's quite a big one, the financial side of it, but it's a really good idea to talk about it. We all have a root connection to where we feel that we have come from. So somebody who's come from poverty will always be striving to save. Somebody who's come from saving will always maybe be a spender. That's just generalizing, but it could be that you're in a relationship with somebody that's got a difference of how they think about money. So there'd be one person worrying all the time. What is the status of your children? So when we talk about status of our children, the ages that they are, the relationship that you have. I'm not really too worried about the children. In therapy, I always put them over there because actually the relationship needs to form because good coupling makes good parenting. If you two settle, the children will settle. And how do you relate to your mutual friends around you? Going out with friends, the bonding of friends. How does that work for both of you? Are you going out with people in a couple situation where you feel comfortable, where it works? I think that's really important as well. How are decisions made with both of you? And how do you resolve conflict? So when we talk about decision making, I want both of my couples to make decisions for themselves. Okay, knowing to say no and mean it, and yes to say yes, and definitely that's what I want to do. Decision making is really, really important. And if we don't have that decision making, it can cause this conflict. I'm doing all the work, I have to think of everything. What are your relationship like with your in-laws? Okay, how do you get on with the family of origin from either side? And how physically healthy are you? So it's interesting that usually one part of the relationship will want change. They will go, I want to get fitter. I want to stop drinking. I'm not going to smoke anymore. And it always seems to come across that this person is on a health kick and the other person's being made to do it. What we've got to do is actually be autonomous, going, this is what I'm going to do. How does that sit with you? Because I'm not going to do it. And actually, you will find that if there isn't that continuous, you should be the same as me, or I wish you were doing it too. Just continue how you are as an I. So we talked about this before. You're an I first, choosing to be a we. And you will find that your partner, don't do percentages, will follow. Because if you want to be together, you will want to find that reciprocity, doing something for each other, encouraging each other, supporting each other. Okay. I've noticed on the internet lately, there is lots of they call them quizzes or things like that to go on to actually do an MOT for your relationship. Very similar questions to what I've done, but they're longer questions. So it might be worth as couples going off and seeing, a bit like we do the love languages, go off and see what you are. Maybe do a relationship MOT online and see how aligned you are with each other. So we're not looking for compatibility, we're looking for how aligned you are. So I always talk about, you don't need to both like tennis to be together. It doesn't matter about the compatibility of you, but the alignment needs to have a gap about that much. If the alignment is that much, we're in trouble. So we need to find things that we can come and concentrate on together, but we don't have to do everything together. And I think that's really, really important. So I hope that gives you an opportunity to think about better communication with questions. If we have questions, we can start a conversation. And it's quite exciting when I give these questions to my couples. They're eager to go home and sit down and go, right, okay, what will this look like? And we're not talking about arguing about stuff. We're talking about, from my perspective, this is how I feel about the relationship. And the honesty and the truth might cause some conflict, but conflict is growth trying to happen. So I say to my clients, make sure that when something's stirred up in you, it's okay to actually park it and come back to therapy and go, it went wrong there, but we parked it and we carried on what we were doing. Let's explore what went wrong. What triggered you? What was it? Usually sometimes about money. There was words said about how you are with money and how it triggered that person, and they felt quite hurt by it. I tried to get people to park it so they continue with this exercise and come back and say, something happened. I found it really hard to engage. I switched off slightly. So we need to find out what that is, because that won't be just in this exercise. It will be every now and then within the relationship. Okay, I'm going to move on. So I want to look at the Cartman triangle. I don't know if anybody's heard of it or not. I'm sure you have. Just so that in a relationship, it can be quite, even though it's a triangle, it can feel like it just goes round and round and round. And one of the reasons why it does that is because the Cartman triangle keeps us in this loop. Okay. And it stops progress within the relationship. It blocks working things out. It's a loop of despair, which at times feels never ending. And what we've got to do is, I always hear about the Cartman triangle, which is persecutor, rescuer, and victim. But very rarely do I hear about the winner's triangle. Okay, so we really have to think. So when you, in one of my other sessions, I talked about John Gottman, and we talked about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And the lovely thing about that is we've got stonewalling, defensiveness, criticism, and contempt. And the lovely thing about, not all of them are lovely, but what we're doing is we're dialing down on them. And the reason why we can do that is just opposite that piece of paper is the actual antidote to all the things that we do within a relationship that are behavioral and don't work. So always getting defensive when your partner's trying to talk to you, actually talking to you, but you get overwhelmed, so you walk away. Actually being critical, because actually you'll become parent and then they only go to child, or we become contemptuous and we actually don't end up liking what you're saying at all, but we personalize it and go, I don't like you. So the winner's triangle is an opportunity for us to actually go into another triangle to actually work out where we are in that process. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this, if that's okay with everyone. So the persecutor will be somebody that doesn't really have a value of other people's views or integrity. So they will be angry, they will be aggressive, definitely judgmental, bullying, demanding, and there's a spitefulness about the persecutor. They will want to get their own way. Then we talk about the rescuer within a relationship. In the mode of this person, they have they don't value the other person's capacity to help themselves. So when we think about the rescuer, there are people in this world who think, I need to rescue them. And what happens to that person is they never get to a space where they think, I can look after myself, because the enabling of somebody else will always be there. Okay. And we have to watch that. We need to not rescue people, because they don't then get the resilience that they need. So they appear self-sacrificing, over helpful, facilitative, want to be needed. So we have to be mindful of not being a rescuer. And that happens a lot in relationships. I need to make sure they're all right, or this happened and I did this. I really like it when people say, what do you need? What would you like me to do? So we need a different dialogue with that. And then we've all heard the victim. Okay, so manipulative, poor me syndrome, helpless, needy, complaining, whingy, fretful, I'm downtrodden, and blaming others. Now the Cartman triangle is showing that actually these are behavioral processes, and they come from somewhere. Okay, we're not just being like this. They come from somewhere. They come from family of origin, basically. And I'm not sitting here blaming our parents or their parents or their parents, but our template for how we're brought up, whether it's conflict or love, is set. They're writing our script. We then become an adult and we can write our own script, and it can be as creative as you want it to be. So when we go on to talk about the winner's triangle, we want the victim to then have a voice. Okay, because the voice that they have is, a lot of it is internal. They, poor me, it's not fair. And they will have a voice of negative, but it won't be heard because everybody's heard it before. So what we're trying to do is get them to have a voice of their feelings, giving them the opportunity to be differently vulnerable so that they can be heard. The rescuer needs to become resourceful. They need to think about how can I work this out? I don't want somebody to keep coming in like Batman and going, I will save you, everything will be okay. What we want to do is become more resourceful, more resilient, being able to support ourselves. Then the persecutor, that we're looking at somebody that needs to be assertive. So instead of them being so detrimental within the relationship, it's okay to be assertive. So sometimes when people become assertive, people say, oh, you're really being aggressive today. There's a transition of being the persecutor to being assertive that actually makes us still sound like we're being aggressive. We need to practice it because it's a language. It's a different language we're coming across. So making it clear about what's needed, because all of those first triangle, people are in a rupture of some sort. They're not feeling okay. But the winner's triangle, where we've got the voice, where we've got resourceful, or where we've got the assertiveness, it gives us the opportunity to fend for ourselves, look after ourselves. But the most important thing, you're coming out of this loop. So if you think of your relationships that you have, okay, maybe at work, within your relationship, think about how that's playing out. So now I've told you about it, you might be able to hear it. You'll be talking to a friend, and you'll be saying something positive, and they will go, well, that won't work. Can't see that work. I mean, that's not you. I can't see you doing that. So you'll get that feeling of, right, okay, there's a persecution here. Okay, it's quite a strong word, but it's somebody saying, I can't see you doing that. Okay, then you might go to victim. Okay, you might actually end up becoming the persecutor and having to go back, or you may be the rescuer going, I don't think like that. You might rescue the person's way of thinking. So be mindful of this triangle goes on wherever we go. Yeah. So it can be 3 people, it can be 2 people. And I do believe that actually one person can actually do this throughout their life, actually going from different genres to actually think about poor me. Actually, I'm okay now. I've sorted it out. Actually, I should have sorted it out better than that. I'm not good enough. So we can do it ourselves. It doesn't have to be a 3-way thing, but it stops progress in relationships. It goes round and round, and you can't really understand why you can't get out of it. Okay. And the winner's triangle stops that process to give you an opportunity to be heard, to be resilient, and to be more assertive within a relationship, which is really, really important. One of the things I say to my clients when they come here is I want the truth. I want you to sit in a place of uncomfortability so that you can actually say your truth, and your partner can hear it, maybe for the first time. So we have to regulate clients, but the feeling, the relief of being able to say something to each other, and from that, growth definitely happens. Even if clients come to me in real despair, there is some growth that will happen. I don't know which way it's going to go, but there is always growth. Always, because we are human beings. We are implicit and implicit brains. They're doing this all the time, even when we're asleep, trying to work stuff out. So when people say I'm stuck, I don't know what I'm doing, your brain is still going, but I could do this. Maybe I should do that. I could move out. I could move in. We're doing something all the time. So that stuckness is just that you're in a loop. So if you've not heard of the Cartman triangle, look it up because it's a really useful process to go through. Okay, any questions? No, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to talk about sex now. We're sort of coming up to Valentine's, which is really, really exciting. And I had the opportunity to do a boudoir photo shoot, which I was asked to do. And I'm hoping it will be a lovely picture of me with a red skirt on and all the Valentine things around me. But what come up for me while I was doing the photo shoot or after it was the pressure of Valentine. And I just wanted to say to couples, dial it down slightly. Not that you don't care, dial it down, but dial it down slightly because I'm seeing couples week on week are actually talking about Valentine's in like December, January, and the expectation of it and the expectation of sex. There is the romance and the meal and the this and the flowers and not garage flowers, thank you very much. And there's all this that goes on. And I felt like while I was standing there in that skirt doing the photo shot, I thought, God, it feels like such a pressure. So I want couples to really think about, instead of making it a whole evening, do an hour of something lovely. Do an hour of something that you both have a passion for, whether that's cycling or going to the gym or I don't know, going down to somewhere and walking along the beach, whatever it might be. Dial it down slightly because I do feel, maybe the cost of living or sometimes the anxiety that we're holding in our bodies at the moment. It feels like we're sort of being told to do something because it's that day. And I want people to make up their own minds about it. I will be advertising about Valentine's, but I will be saying to them, I wonder how we can dial it down. And I think sometimes when we think about doing it differently and there isn't such expectation on it, it actually can work out a really nice afternoon or evening. So I don't know what anybody else thinks about that, but it just sort of made me think about it. But I wanted to talk about making time to talk to your partners about sex. This is one of the most difficult things people find. Okay. And that can be for many reasons, that they've not had a template for it. Their families were very close, or turn the telly off when something come on, or, just not available to them to ask them questions. And their learning may have come from school or friends. So when we get into a relationship, we do find that it's quite difficult to talk about. And even clients that come to see me, both or one of them will find the subject very, very difficult to talk about. So we need to think of some sort of really open questions to be able to talk to our clients about and make them feel a little bit more comfortable, I guess, with it. You're not going to feel that comfortable if you don't like talking about it, but starting off with something that's a bit easier. Okay, so acknowledging the difficulty about talking about it. That's why I'm always talking to therapists who talk about sex. You must have that in your assessment form, because there's a lot of therapists out there who have couples and they don't put it in their assessment form. Now you need to work out why you're not doing it as a therapist, but we need to make sure that it's in there, because actually being a couple, that's part of the process. So the way I look at being able to talk about sex or inciting sex is actually see it as not a chore or I have to, but a ritual. Okay, making space for something that you both want to do. So one of my couples said to me today, oh, there's a message. I'll read it in a minute. Said today, all I want is a big, big hug and know that I don't have to give sex. So if we could make a hugging evening, okay, or a kissing, how often do we kiss for long? When we first meet someone, that snogging goes on a long time. I wonder what it would be like to do different kisses, maybe for 15 minutes. Just communicate what you do want and what you don't want. But actually, whatever you do decide, make it a ritual, make it nice, set the scene, send an invitation. When we do sensate focus, which is something that couples are put on by me because they're not having sex at all, is just so nice. They send a little card invitation. They do the room all nice. It's all warm and clean sheets and music on, and it's really in-depth effort, because actually that's got to be the setting the scene to be able to do this. What I'm talking about now is not such a sensate focus deal, but actually making whatever you're thinking of doing a ritual. So making the space, facilitating the discussion in the first place with openness, and be willing to say to your partner, we're very afraid to say to our partners, I don't like that anymore. I did, and I loved it, but my body's changing, your body's changing. I want us to do something different, so that we're able to sit in this place of going, it's not personal to you, it's how I'm talking about myself. And being able to sit there and say to them, actually, rubbing, whatever you're rubbing, you're not lighting a fire. You need to slow down, take in consideration. That's why I love these things where you touch someone and they go, yes, yes, no, no, maybe. That was some of my training. We were asked to navigate how we wanted to be touched and how that would work for us. So it's a really interactive play we're doing. And we need cues and signs. Are you still liking it? Is there any moaning or noises? Is there something you're doing? Or are we put up and shut up? And I think a lot of relationships now are just doing that. I'm going to call it vanilla. And what I do believe is that every now and then we need to put a novelty in. We need to think of feathers. We need to think of something that we can add to it. And I'm not talking about chandeliers. I'm talking about, food or blindfolds or something that we do that just takes our arousal system off course slightly. It will heighten it. It will be like, oh, I don't know what this feels like. I need to know what this feels like. And teasing and flirting. So women need warmth. We need this process. I'm going to say some women need. So we're doing little texts through the day, not just on Valentine's Day, by the way, but just going through, making that warmth. Okay, a connection. So if we look at the relationship creed, connection. How do I connect to my partner so that actually in the evening we can discuss what's going to happen for us? Yeah. And if we're not having sex with our partner, people go, well, it's contrived if you're going to have a conversation about it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So name drop. And I did the Independent the other day, and I can't remember her name. It's Catherine somebody. She's a celebrity. She's a comedian, and she schedules sex with her partner twice a month. I think it was. I don't think it was twice a week. It was twice a month. And everybody had slated her and said that's so, that's horrible. It means you have to have it. But actually they weren't having anything at all. Unless they figured it in, they were either too busy or couldn't be bothered. So we do have to contrive it sometimes. And with my couples, they say it feels awkward, like you're 17 again, but actually you move on and you get over that. So we do have to contrive it so that it starts. But I want the sex stuff. I want you to really think about. I'm going to read a couple of things on here that I really love, and then I'm going to do the questions. So I love this. It's my way, your way, our way. There is no keener pleasure than that of the bodily love. So that's Plato who said that. I'm going to read it again. My way, your way, our way. There is no keener pleasure than that of bodily love. The other one I like is, actually, it's not on here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sexual intimacy. You, me, and then you again. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love these little quotes. I'm actually doing an Excel spreadsheet. When I say me, I mean somebody else is doing it for me. And I'm collecting all these lovely quotes because some of them just really, oh, that's just such a nice thing. So when we talk about asking questions to our clients or to each other as partnership, I think it's really important to actually, again, get a cup of tea, have a little chat, have a hug, let's ask these questions and go through them. So I'm just going to read them out to you. So do you think that we have a healthy sex life? Yeah. Really great. It's a great question. Do you think we do? No. Okay. Don't be offended. Okay. How would you like to enhance it? How would you like it to be different? What do you think we should introduce? So this is a really great question because we can't stay the same. Okay, our arousal circuits will just flatline eventually. We've got to keep adding things. And the more we talk about sex, the more we want sex. Do you feel comfortable talking to me about sex? Not really. I feel it really difficult to talk to you about sex. Okay, what would make it easier? How could we ritualistically, how could we make a ritual to actually be able to sit in that place with each other? What do we need to do to make it much better for us to do that? You will find that one person will be okay talking about it and the other person won't be. Is there anything I could do to make it more comfortable for you? Do you think our sexual relationship has changed over time? So that's usually a big subject. Absolutely. Yeah, it feels different. I feel different. I'm older. My body's different. We've had children. There can be dysfunctions in the family, in the person, or there can be the sex you're having is not the sex you want, and that's why you switch off from it. So that's why the discussion is really important. And the question is, if so, how has it changed and how can we make it better? Is there anything you would like to do differently in our sex life? Did your parents ever discuss sex as you were growing up? So what was it like? It gives you a real gauge of what it's like to talk to somebody who's been in a house where nobody speaks about it and it's hidden. How do you feel about sex when you were growing up? How significant do you feel with me in our relationship? And that's a really important one. Significance is the warmth that we have to want to go towards our partner. Am I respectful of your sexual needs? And do you feel our communication is good when we are talking about sex? So all of those questions can be enhanced with a conversation, or what do you need from me? Or when I do that, it doesn't seem like you enjoy it as much as you used to. It probably is because you're not. When we're doing something again and again and again, our senses in our whole body, your biggest organ is your skin. And that's the first thing that gets touched. So things that you used to do won't touch base at 20, 30, 40, 50. Everything changes. So we want a different menu. We want a different repertoire. We want it to be mixed up a little bit. And that's when our arousal circuits start coming back up again. And we think, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that. But we've got to have a conversation about, can I just have a hug? I don't want to have sex. It's okay to say, I'm not going to have sex with you tonight, but I wonder whether we could do this. And it was interesting. I had a conversation today about somebody saying, why should I have to initiate? And the other person's going, but why do I have to keep initiating? Because you don't. I like reciprocity. Why don't we set up that we can actually both initiate? What can we do to actually think about how we can do that? Is there a code word? Can we say a sentence that means something to us? When you were in your 20s and you first met, you would actually openly say, do you want sex? Do you fancy coming to have sex? You wouldn't think twice about it. Now, being older, it's almost like taboo. I can't say that. You can, but maybe the fear of rejection. Because in the 20s, when you're in that loved up stage, it's almost maybe a given. When you're older, life experiences, how the relationship is forming stops us from really, really thinking about how we are and what we want from the relationship. So the communication is absolutely key, and pure communication. So when I'm with my clients, if their language is not okay, and I'm not talking about swearing or anything, I will say to them, I wonder if you could say that again, but differently. I wonder if you could dial down and make it a little bit softer. Yeah. So I'm getting a lot of couples lately sort of coming in from work and going, oh, that's not been done. I thought you'd done that the time ago. There's no hello, there's no kiss, there's no connection. It's almost like my expectation is when I get home, these things will be done so I don't have to do them. So we're talking about the chore list again, which we always talk about, which I refuse to talk about. There's an app now that you can get for the chore list. You share the app, you share the chores, then you swap them over and you negotiate them. And we don't have to talk about chores anymore because they are going to be there for life. Get them done quickly and have fun with your partner. Any questions? I've got a question. How exciting. Fee would normally look at this, but I'm going to look at it. My client said last night he feels pressured for Valentine's. He suspects. Oh, should I read it out loud? Sorry. My client said last night he feels pressure with Valentine's. He suspects his girlfriend will hope he proposes marriage. He feels the relationship isn't ready for that. A ring won't fix their insecurity and issues. Wow. Yeah. Expectations. Yeah. Okay, she's ready and he's not. So the conversation needs to be before Valentine's Day. This is what Valentine's Day is going to look like for us. Okay, want to be with you. I want to celebrate it with you. I get the impression you're wanting more from me. Okay, so I want us to I don't know, go on a trip, I'll buy you flowers. Yeah, I don't know what anybody thinks of that. Anybody wants to comment? There's something going on for me, not saying I think you want to marry me, because I think that's something that I would want her to say herself. Okay, which she probably won't, because then that spoils the whole thing, doesn't it? So there's a difficult situation here for them to be able to talk through what's going on. So as always, I'm very transparent and authentic. I would say to him, I have a concern. I think you're further ahead in the relationship than I am, and I think you're thinking about marriage. If he's not real, he's setting himself up for a fall, because she won't mention it. Maybe she won't mention it. And then he's stuck going, she's going, why are you talking about it like this? So he'll be stuck then. Always be real and authentic. The thing with a relationship is, remember, you're an I first. You're allowed to be in a relationship and go at your pace. Long as you say to the other person, this is where I am. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. But you need to talk about marriage. Does he really want to get married at all? Some people don't. Some people don't believe in marriage, and some people go, it's a deal breaker. If you're not going to marry me eventually, it's a deal breaker. So I don't know whether you want to put in the comments whether that helped or not. But I think the pressure of Valentine's, it's interesting I mention it. And it only actually, I'm in this massive long skirt that I've worn with all stuff everywhere. And I thought, God, this feels really pressurized. Me putting it out on social media, have fun, go and do. I want to make it much smaller so that people have fun, but on a smaller scale. Because I know people talk about the commercial side of it all, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mental pressure of it all. Who am I supposed to be when actually I'm not? So yeah, go back. I would say go back to him and tell him, I just want to be authentic. Tell him to be authentic and real. Let's have a look what was said. Yes, that helps. Thank you. Thank you. It was just bizarre you mentioned Valentine so soon after the session. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the reason why I've done the boudoir thing is because I want to encourage women to be empowered. So the boudoir thing for me is not about um sex or sexuality. For me, it was about empowerment, and I want to do a portfolio of my own in my office here to get women to really and I've teamed up with this guy because I want empowerment for women. So the usual sort of way of looking is very much suspenders and stockings. Who are you doing that for? If you're doing it for yourself, fabulous. Okay, empower yourself. But my pictures are very much, there's not much skin. It's all covered up with lace and things, but it was about empowerment, and the stance and the way I'm holding myself is an empowerment, because I want women to actually feel good about their bodies, to feel good about anything in their brain that's giving them that chimp process of you're not good enough and you should be this and you should be that. We have a lot of pressure on us. So for me, it was about how can I incorporate some of that with somebody that I know to be able to work together. And it's a choice if you go and have your photographs done, but there's an opportunity to do that. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. It's nearly 8 o'clock now. I just want to mention a couple of things. We've sort of done the things I wanted to talk about in the MOT and everything. I don't know if you know, but I'm in conjunction with the founder, Elliot Burgess, and Fee Spliff, who's usually on here with me and myself. We run a podcast. It's called The Paradox of Change. And Carl Rogers says, when we truly accept ourselves, change will happen. And I truly believe that. But we're always looking for people, couples who would like to come on the podcast with us. And talk about their experience in counselling or their experience of being a couple and how they've navigated different things. But also therapists who want to come and talk about couple therapy or therapy in general, or any niche that you have. So the podcast is something that we're sharing. So even though we're the founders of it, we give all the information to you. We do it on what we call Riverside FM, which is a studio. And if you wanted to interview anybody, you can do that and then send it in to us. And long as it's about mental health or working with couples or therapy, or we've interviewed entrepreneurs, we've interviewed practitioners, we've actually interviewed clients who have come on, and it's amazing. They've told us their story of therapy and how they've got involved with it and how they've come out the other side, and it's just incredible. So we're sharing POC. It's not ours. We want to get it out there as much as possible. But if there's anybody you think, if there's a few therapists who want to come on and have a chat, we can all do it by Riverside. It's really, really easy to do. We set it all up and send it to you. So have a think if there's anything that you would like to share with us. We've got somebody who's autism specialist. We've got somebody that does, I think it's called untitled parenting or something. We've done loads, and we're going out on the streets in Southampton City on the 10th of February. To talk to people. We're just going to interview people about their mental health, how are they feeling, and then the afternoon session is about your sex life. So come and join us if you live near Southampton. Come and talk to us. It'd be wonderful to speak to couples and therapists. The other thing I want to mention before we go is the playbook. The playbook is for therapists, but we are going to adapt it for couples, and it's a process of being able to be a really good couple therapist. So having all the tools, techniques, and talking therapy that you'll ever need. It's an 8-day process that you're able to go on. It's £1,250. And it starts in March till June, and you can pay over the whole of the time. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting. If I can get the message out there for people to become couple therapists, then I will, because we need more couple therapists. And so yeah, have a look on my website. And if there's anything that interests you, and keep in touch. Any questions you've got after this, I love it. And any ethical dilemmas that you have with clients, then I run a group supervision and I see therapists individually. But to the couples that will be listening to this, I hope that what I've given out as an MOT is helpful. Think about the relationship creed and where you are, and think about the Cartman triangle, and stop going round and round in it. I'm going to finish now. It's a little bit early. Normally I finish about 8:30, but I've done everything I wanted to do. And I appreciate anybody that comes on to the lives. It's always lovely to have people here. And this recording will be put up, and it will be there for, I think, 7 days. So anybody that's going to listen to it, fabulous. And I will see all of you next month. Thank you so much. Thank you for your question. Thank you. Most welcome.